Hi, I'm Rania Banks, and I'm here to talk about noble silence. So, what is this noble silence? That's what I'll be talking about. How to practice it, how it originated, the spirit behind noble silence, as well as some pointers for how you can get the most out of it. So, noble silence, at first I didn't understand it when I first started doing meditation practice. But what I finally learned is that it's this beautiful mindfulness practice that allows us to have deeper insights into the nature of the body, heart, and mind. These are liberating insights, right? So the word noble is used often in Buddhist instructions. This is a Buddhist practice, mindfulness, originated over 2,600 years ago. And the word is used for noble truths, the noble eightfold path. The noble ones are ones who practice meditation, so you're a noble one, right? And I was like, what is up with this word noble so much in this context? And what I learned is that the word noble means it describes someone who unites all three aspects of their being: their body, speech, and mind. Body, heart, mind, speech are all united and integrated. Yeah. Also, once you start doing this practice and really deep in your practice, you'll start to see that there's a sense of nobility and grace that comes with these mindfulness practices that go contrary to the typical currents of chaos and busyness in our daily life. So this noble silence term originated from the time of Siddhartha Gautama, who was originally known as the Buddha, the Enlightened One. And it started from when oftentimes he had many students and people from the public coming to ask him for guidance, and they would make inquiries, questions to him. And sometimes he responded to their questions with complete and utter silence. He didn't respond. And when asked why he didn't respond later from Ananda, his attendant, he said, I didn't want to cause this person any more suffering or confusion than they were already in. So I responded with the best response, which would be silence. So the Buddha responded in a lot of different ways to people. And sometimes silence is the appropriate and needed and most helpful response. As William Shakespeare, one of my favorite quotes from William Shakespeare is, we make much ado about nothing. The human mind, the monkey mind, is constantly busy, right? So we're not adding anything more than needs to be said in our daily life if we're practicing noble silence in our daily life. But the Buddha's practices on awakening, that's what he promises, to reduce or even completely eradicate our suffering, started with his instructions to seclude oneself in silence, to sit in a forest or an empty, quiet hut and bring mindfulness before oneself, right? So it starts with this quietude and seclusion instruction. Why? Because in this silence and seclusion, it helps one see reality clearly. And Vipassana, this meditation practice, often called Vipassana, stands for seeing things clearly, right? So the silence helps the meditator's body, heart, and mind to relax away from the stimulation and the constant input from the outside world. So he told his students, he suggested his students practice noble silence, to be mindfully present and not speak. Not speak unless what they're going to say would increase their wisdom and understanding of the Dharma, these teachings, or to decrease their own and other suffering, or if the speech was absolutely necessary. Right? So in this context, we have now 2,500 years later, we have formulated this formal idea of noble silence and then informal. So in this practice, hopefully you'll be able to practice formal noble silence. I've sat on many Buddhist meditation retreats that call for formal noble silence. And in this context, you follow the instructions for complete silence. Hopefully you've been able to take off this week completely from all your daily work responsibilities to be able to focus primarily on your practice and this meditation retreat. In this retreat context, I'm going to ask you to not engage with anyone verbally, written or speaking, unless when maybe during the retreat we have Q&A periods, we have group meetings, or unless you absolutely have to reduce your own confusion, right? Noble silence includes technology, so unless you want to have your watch or your computer just for Zoom, right? Your computer for nothing else, no smart devices, no email, no reading your internet, put your cell phone down, no reading Kindle, books, magazines, not even reading the back of any cereal boxes or anything that you would normally habitually do in order to not be fully present in this moment. So for many, that includes no writing or journaling. If you want to take notes from the retreat, feel free to do that from things that are said or instructions. Why all these don't do this, don't do that? And that's because the human mind, it tends to be restless. Have you noticed that? It's the one that makes much ado about nothing. It's constantly searching for things to feed on, to chew on, right? But when we stop giving it food to chew on, then you'll get to work with the restlessness itself underneath the energy of restlessness, the energy of desire to chew. You get to work with that with mindfully. And eventually what the mind starts to do is starts to calm down. It starts to relax into this quietude, this quiet space. So noble silence includes not touching others, looking down, not making eye contact with others unless you absolutely have to. It helps not to engage in usual relating pressures so that you can go deep within yourself, right? Into this noble silence and space that it creates. When you have the inclination to speak but don't, then you get to be with your underlying motivation to speak. What was motivating you to want to speak? Was this motivation helpful, wholesome, needed? Or was it some habitual mental pattern that you've gotten into to control, complain, to be heard, because you want to share your excitement, whatever it is? Look at the motivation, bring mindfulness to it, and see if it's something that would be helpful or not. At home, if you're able to maintain this noble silence, you'll be much better off. Hopefully, you're off of work and can devote this entire retreat all day, every day to practice. If you're able to do that, if you're an MMTCP, that is the requirement, to not be working, to just be retreating. So avoid technology except for Zoom. Avoid all your devices. A lot of us are so addicted to our devices. Whenever I lead retreats, I have people say, I'm really struggling without my devices. It's going to be a little harder because you're at home or you're habitually used to picking, these things up. So set them down, put them away. You might want to lock them away, hand them over to family members, right? If you have family or children that you absolutely have to attend to and speak to, try to spend chunks of time with formal sitting and formal practice and walking meditation away from them. Ask them to please keep quiet around you. Ask them to stay out of your practice space so that you can devote yourself completely to your practice. You might want to make agreements with your family members that you're only going to speak to them at a certain hour of the day and keep that as brief as possible, right? So if you can find a quiet place in your home that's dedicated to your practice with distraction-free zone, just communicate what you need. ask people to stay out of your space unless there's an emergency, right? And be very clear what an emergency is. Someone's hurt or sick or something that needs immediate attention. Empower them to attend to things themselves. If you have a partner or someone helping out, ask them to please attend to things without distracting you. So hopefully you've been able to set up this retreat time as a gift to yourself so that you can really practice and be in this daily silence to allow your body, heart, and mind to relax, to soften. And just in this quiet softening, the body, mind, and heart will start to become integrated. You start to see things really clearly, some of the habitual patterns of your mind. And underneath all the noise, you may touch into this deep healing place that's spacious, it's empty of chaos, it's quiet, and yet it's full of love. In the silence, you may sense your own true nature, your Buddha nature, that which we talk about is the fruit of your practice. Yeah, the spacious awareness itself. And in this space, you may experience peace and ease, interconnection with all life forms, including yourself. And yet the sense of self may drop away into this space that's empty yet full, and which feels like home, coming home. And it starts by cutting out the noise of the outside world, stopping the influx of information and stimulation from others, and attending to the deepest parts of yourself, to whatever wants to arise and to be known in this moment, right? And attending to it with mindfulness and compassion. Thank you for being on this retreat. May it bring you great inner peace and a lot of wisdom.